It is Graham here, still living the dream in 2019. And have you ever asked yourselves the question, how to get from Glasgow here in West Central Scotland to Sacramento, the state capital of California? No, I didn't think so. It's only crazy people like me that seem to want to do these sorts of trips. If you were to look back December 2017 and video number 23, you would have followed my good friend and colleague Lance Gold and I as we made a wee trip to the big country, and that being Sacramento in Northern California. On that trip, Lance and I flew to San Francisco on board Airlines before renting a car, driving across the Bay Bridge and along the I-80 towards Sacramento and our final destination, Penn Valley. On this particular trip, I'll be travelling alone, and the big question for me was how to fly direct to Sacramento without first of all flying to San Francisco, renting a car, and making the 2.5-hour drive to Penn Valley. With the help of my good friend Stephen Torbett from Reliable Travel in Belfast, I've managed to get a flight on board British Airways from Glasgow to London Heathrow. I'll then have to transfer from British Airways Terminal 5 across to Terminal 3 to catch an American Airlines 777 bound for Dallas Fort Worth. After arriving in Dallas off my 10-hour flight from London Heathrow, I'll be transferring terminal again, this time to catch a domestic service on board American Airlines on an Airbus A321 bound for Sacramento, California. And yes folks, before you ask, this entire trip is going to be done in economy class. When it comes to travelling on my own in business, I am a cheapskate. And just to spice things up, my journey back to Glasgow will be a little bit different. First of all, travelling from Sacramento to Phoenix, Arizona on board an American Airlines Airbus A319. In Phoenix, I'll meet up with the overnight British Airways 777 service bound to London Heathrow. This flight will be done in premium economy. And arriving in London Terminal 5 from Phoenix, I'll transfer to my final flight on board British Airways back to Glasgow. You join me Sunday morning on the red-eye British Airways Airbus A320 from Glasgow down to London Heathrow, a journey I've made many times on this channel before. And as we cruised above the clouds, heading towards the English border, the sunrise was absolutely gorgeous. If you stick with this video folks, you will see the sunset over California some 20 hours later. With a view eastward towards the River Thames, London Docklands, Canary Wharf, the city airport below us, we were soon turning right, en route westbound to runway 27 left to London Heathrow. As you know folks, London Heathrow Terminal 5 is the home of British Airways, and you'll only see BA at this terminal except for the odd Iberia. We'd arrived a good 15 minutes early at the gate, but sadly the gate agent wasn't there for another 20 minutes, so I don't really know what that meant other than we deplaned the aircraft probably a few minutes after we should have. However, this is where I have to admit that I have actually never transferred from British Airways Terminal 5 to another terminal, in this case Terminal 3. And it was really quite simple. I simply followed the signposts for flight connections Terminal 2, Terminal 3 and Terminal 4 at this stage. Coming down this escalator to the ground floor is where the buses would take you from Terminal 5 to the other terminals at London Heathrow. And this is where I focused on looking for the bus to Terminal 3. The transfer from Terminal 5 to Terminal 3 on the bus would take approximately 12 minutes, with a planned stop at Terminal 5B. And this is where I waved goodbye to my Airbus A320 that brought me down from Glasgow at the A gates, and we headed under the taxiways towards Terminal 5B. For me, this bus ride was actually quite fantastic, passing aircraft such as this brand new British Airways Boeing 787-9, which actually would be the aircraft type that would be bringing me back from Phoenix. I know that I said in the introduction to this video that I'd be flying back from Phoenix on a BA 777, but that was to change. As I had never flown on a Boeing 787-9 before, I was actually looking forward to the 9 hours and 50-minute flight back from Phoenix. Yeah, I know folks, I'm a bit weird like that. Right, back to my transfer from Terminal 5 to Terminal 3, because this is where American Airlines get the first thumbs up from me. From the minute I landed at London Heathrow, I was receiving emails from American Airlines informing me of the gate and then a gate change. What more could I ask for? Because entering Terminal 3, I had to pass through security again and time was running short. It was a trip through duty free for me without stopping. Well, I didn't have Fiona with me, so of course I wasn't going to stop. Heading en route to gate 25, which was exactly the gate that American Airlines told me on the emails that they sent me. And soon I was boarding the American Airlines 777 bound for Dallas Fort Worth. Back in seat 20H on board the American Airlines Boeing 777-200ER en route from London Heathrow to Dallas Fort Worth. The first problem arose, as you can see, and that is I'm over a wing, so it's going to be a pretty restricted view and not making the very best video for this particular series, and I do apologise. Anyway, enough of that as we taxi from Terminal 3 to runway 27 right at London Heathrow. I've not actually flown out of Terminal 3 for more than 20 years, and back then I think that was on a Virgin Atlantic 747 to Miami. Anyway, Terminal 3 seems to be the home for American Airlines, Delta Airlines, Cathay Pacific and Virgin Atlantic, to name but a few. And of course, it's great to see the brand new Virgin Atlantic Airbus A350-1000. I was actually really impressed with American Airlines, even back here in economy. Their in-flight entertainment system was pretty modern, and yes, even the USB worked. Yep, that's something that British Airways do seem to struggle with. And as for the food, well yeah, it was economy, and it was okay, as economy food goes on a long-haul flight. I can't really complain, folks. I had pasta, and yeah, it was edible. And with about 90 minutes to go until we landed at Dallas Fort Worth, we were served a light snack. There was ice cream served during the flight, but for our snack, I had a mini pizza, and yeah, it was surprisingly pretty good. Again, comparing American Airlines to a British Airways flight to New York earlier on this year, I have to say American Airlines have it. And I'm sorry folks, as you can see, the wing was pretty restrictive when it came to decent views on approach to Dallas Fort Worth Airport. As we deplane here at Dallas Fort Worth, I wanted to talk a little bit about the immigration process because I was utterly blown away by how good it was. Yes, folks, entering the United States, an easy process? Well, for me, in this journey, it certainly was. As you'll understand, I wasn't able to film the process, but it all was done electronically. Even here in the US, my UK passport was scanned electronically and I was through the process in just over 10 minutes. Even my case arrived. I simply took it to the transfer belt and it was on its way to Terminal A. Yes, folks, I arrived at Terminal D here at Dallas and I had to take a little train round to Terminal A. Again, it was a really simple and easy process. Even the sun was shining here in Dallas. It was 28 degrees and it just made me feel even better as I made my way to Terminal A on my American Airlines A321 service over to Sacramento. Just like back in London Heathrow circa 11 hours earlier, I was in boarding group D, boarding this American Airlines A321 bound for Sacramento. This flight was scheduled to take just under 3 hours, and yes folks, I was back in economy once again. But my amazement with American Airlines continued today because even on this internal flight within the United States, I had an in-flight entertainment system and yeah, a USB socket that worked. I know guys, you're wondering why I sound so surprised because in pretty well every British Airways flight I've ever taken that has a USB socket, it simply hasn't worked. But here in American Airlines, well, clearly it does. Any executive from British Airways is watching, you should take note of this because even in an internal flight within the United States on board American Airlines, in economy, you get a cup of coffee and a cookie, and with a view outside like this, life is good. Certainly living the dream today, watching the sun set to the west over California some 20 hours after I saw it rise in the east over the North Sea back in the UK. And as we descended into the Sacramento metropolitan area, it was time to bring this flight and this video to a close. With camera issues and that wing view on the American Airlines flight to Dallas Fort Worth, I know this hasn't been my best work, folks, but I hope you've enjoyed this flight from Glasgow to Sacramento via London and Dallas. Thanks for watching. As you can see folks, I'm back home here in my study in Liv'n and I want to do a quick wrap up to this video. I first of all want to apologise, this has not been my greatest work and I'm really sorry. I had quite a few camera issues. The DJI Pocket Osmo simply wasn't playing ball and I've had to do a lot of fiddling with the footage that I had just to get this video into the state that it is. Add that to the wing view that I had on the American Airlines 777 service from London Heathrow to Dallas Fort Worth, and it really has been a disappointing video to pull together and I do apologise. However, reviewing American Airlines at long haul, I have to say I was very impressed with them. Thinking back to May and the trip Fiona and I made across to New York JFK from London Heathrow in British Airways and economy, this is worlds apart, and I have to admit I was pretty surprised. The crew were very good, professional, probably not just quite as friendly as the British staff that you'd find on BA, but they certainly did their job. The seats in economy were a lot more comfortable than BA's, and I have to say that entertainment system that American Airlines have on their 777 is streets ahead of the version British Airways has in their 777. So hands down, American Airlines, if I was viewing them in going across the Atlantic in economy again, American Airlines versus British Airways, American Airlines absolutely has it for me so far this year. Thinking about the domestic service from Dallas up to Sacramento, again, really impressed with American Airlines. That A321 with sharklets was a pretty nice aircraft. The entertainment screen, USB sockets on an internal flight, coffee. I mean, come on. British Airways don't even offer coffee on their European service unless, of course, you're going to pay for it. So again, well done, American Airlines. Your crew were awesome. I was really impressed by your domestic service up to Sacramento. So that's it, folks. Sorry this video hasn't been actually that great. I've done my best to bring you the trip I made back at the end of October 2019 from Glasgow to London Heathrow to Dallas Fort Worth, and then up to Sacramento in California. American Airlines, well done, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to keep living the dream.